what's up guys? This is Coach Sahil from tumblingcoach.com and Cheercore. As you can see, I'm in my beautiful gym here in Ontario, Canada, waiting for my classes to start. And today we're going to be talking about what to think about when you're tumbling, and especially how to not to overthink so you can actually get your passes done and let your tumbling just happen. All right, so what to think about when you're tumbling. First of all, you have to be very conscious, right? This video I'm making for coaches and athletes. So number one, be conscious. First of all, do you even know what you're thinking about when you tumble? Like when you stand there and you're about to go for your pass, do you know exactly what to focus on, what you're doing, or do you just kind of go? So if you're not conscious of this, it's something that you're gonna have to pay attention to the next time you're tumbling. So, when you're about to do your next standing tuck or about to do your pass, stand there and be like, okay, what am I doing with my thoughts? Oh, right, okay. Generally, tumblers focus on like technique or a quick correction of the coach given them. Sometimes they focus on the negative, so we'll be going over that very soon. So number one, be conscious. If you're standing there, kind of collect your thoughts and see where you're at, right? So that's tip number one. Tip number two, make sure you don't think about too many things, right? So overthinking can be a problem. So if you're standing there, you're thinking about your technique and you're thinking about your speed, your shapes, you're thinking about where you are in the gym, right? You're thinking about what Susie is doing over there on the side. When you do those things, what are you not focusing on? Obviously, your skills and your pass, right? So you're going to do better at what you focus on. So if you focus on the fear, then you're going to be afraid. So you need to make sure that you pick one or two different things. Now, what should you be focusing on? If you're only going to pick one or two things, right? What should those things be? So that's where we get into something called FAST. So I developed this acronym called FAST. I'll talk about this in a second. But before we do that, let's talk about the negatives, things that you should be avoiding. All right, so there are 4 things you really, really want to avoid thinking about, and you want to do this before you get to class or whatever. Just kind of try and memorize it the best you can. The easiest way you can remember these 4 things is the word NOPE, N-O-P-E, right? So let's go over it real quick. N, the N is the negative, right? If you, again, like I said, if you are thinking about the negative, like what if I fall? Like what if I don't make it? What if I don't land, right? You're obviously not going to land or make it. So you got to switch that into the positive, right? Think about things that you should be focusing on, like, what should I be working on? Or where if a coach is giving you a cue, be like, look at your toes, or try and look at your toes. So that's the first thing you want to avoid, is the negative. Then is the O, right, which is the outcome. You don't want to be thinking about the outcome. I know it sounds weird when you're like, oh, when I'm about to do my full, like, should I not be thinking about the full? Well, thinking about the skill is different than the outcome, right? So what's an outcome thinking? Like I need to land this now. Or, I need this by competition, or I need this by next weekend. Like, that's the end outcome, right? Obviously, everybody wants to get their skills and do it at competition, but if you keep thinking about that far out goal all the time, you're going to be lost in the process. You're going to be lost in the moment. So you want to think about the now, right now, right? So if you're standing there and you're just learning a full twist, or if you're just learning a tuck, well, that's what you should be thinking about, not, what's going to happen a week from now, what's going to happen an hour from now, just on the process itself, right? Then the next letter is P, okay? Now for P, it comes to, this is one of those things that a lot of people default to, but it also can be useful. So although I'm saying it's negative, it can be useful. So P stands for past, or past tense, right? So things like, if you focus on, like, let's say last week you were in class and you did a drill, or you did something, or you attempted your tuck or your full or your layout or whatever, and let's say you didn't quite land it. Let's say you landed on your knees, maybe even like landed on your face safely, right, into the pit or something, and it just didn't go well, or you landed and like everybody looked at you as you failed, right? And if you keep thinking about that pass, well then, you're not going to be focused again on what matters now, okay? So I guess the better way to put it is like the negative pass, right? That's why I said it could be a give or take. But if you had a positive experience in the past, like let's say last practice you did like 5 in a row, yeah, you definitely want to use that and bring that forward and use that momentum to carry you, okay? So make sure you don't use a negative pass. If you are going to use the pass, I would say focus on the positive pass. But even then, you don't want to spend too much time on it, right? Just focus on the now, right? And then the last letter is E, okay? So E stands for the environment, but it's like, again, the environment of what, right? Like if you're at competition, that's a different environment. You're in the gym, the different environment. You don't have to get too bogged down on the details, but the one thing you have to remember about the environment is that you cannot change it, right? I mean, you can a little bit. Like I'm in the gym right now. Like if I want to put that crash mat over there, sure, I can do that. I can change it a little bit. But at the end of the day, like you can't change the people around you in the environment, right? So if you're on a floor, like the floor that I'm standing on, right? As you can see, it bounces a little bit. It's a spring floor. You know, I can't just randomly change it right now, right? And it'll take forever. So if things that are outside your control, don't even worry about them, right? I know I can't do anything about the spring floor right now. If I go on that air track right there, I know I can't make the air track longer, right? I know, or as I'm tumbling, I can't make it stiffer or softer or whatever. So I don't even worry about it, right? I know the wall is there, right? I know there's a wall there, right? I can't control too much what's going to happen. So again, I don't worry about it. So don't worry about things that you don't have to worry about, because that's just extra thinking for your brain that it doesn't have to do. All right. So those are the 4 things that you want to avoid. NOPE. So now let's talk about what you should be thinking about, right? Now that you got the nope, like I said, the word is FAST, F-A-S-T. Now, again, before I get into it, why do you want to use this? Why do you want to focus on the proper things? And like I said, you don't want to focus on too many things. Because what we're trying to do is use your autopilot, right? So for example, if you have a pass or if you have a skill, you don't want to do too much thinking, right? You just want to let your body do its thing. Like they call it muscle memory. Well, your muscles don't actually have a brain inside them, but you have the brain. So what they mean by the muscle memory is more of your unconscious thought process, right? Like for example, for me, when it comes to like a back handspring or a standing tuck, there's not too much thought involved. I don't really think too many things. I'll go over what I do think about, but it's not like, like am I setting, am I dropping, and where are my arms at, where my head's going to be, am I going to pull, should I grab my knees, where am I going to, like, you see how there's like a million things that I could be thinking about? I don't think about any of that, right? Just 1 or 2 things, bam, and done, right? But that comes from the training and the drills. So what I'm doing is I'm allowing my autopilot to take over, because I know it's more successful. Okay, now you may not know it's more successful, but that's why you're watching this video, right? So you want to let your autopilot take over, especially at competitions, right? You don't want to be thinking about 10 million things at a competition. You just want things to click. You just want your passes to go. So here are the 4 things that you want to focus on, okay? F-A-S-T. So the first letter, F, stands for focus, okay? Now, just make sure that you don't have to think about all these 4. I'll show you how to use it in a second. But the first thing is focus. That's what the F stands for. And what that means is very simple, right? Some of you, when you stand there, like let's say I'm about to do a pass, are you focused on what you're doing, or are you, again, looking around you? Are you worried about what your friends are doing, okay? If you watch the really, really good tumblers, like watch them, especially the really top, high level. They're very focused. They have like tunnel vision, okay? They're really focused on what they're doing. They don't really care about anything else. I asked Jordan Sugrum, who's one of Canada's best female tumblers, and when I asked her, like, when you're going for your huge pass, what are you thinking about? And she's like, honestly, I'm just thinking about 1 or 2 things, like make sure I'm fast and tight, and make sure my round off is straight. Okay, now this girl's doing like double layouts and all these other crazy tricks, right? Full in, full out, things like that. So for somebody at that level to be thinking about just being fast, tight, and just be straight and squeezed in my round off, it tells you something, right? She's just letting her autopilot take over. Now, if you're not at a stage where autopilot can kick in, so let's say you're just learning your tuck, or you're just learning your layout, or your full, or your handspring even, you know what that's like. You're thinking about a lot of different things, right? It's natural. So that's why we do drills, right? That's why drills are awesome, because the more you do them, eventually it just becomes second nature, and that's what you want your skills to be. Okay, so that's number 1, F, focus. Focus on the right things, focus on your pass, make sure your eyes don't divert, make sure you look where you're going, okay? Next one, A, awareness. Okay, awareness has more to do with, how I said environment in the word note? Well, awareness kind of has to do with that, but more about where you are in your space. So, for example, awareness would be like our carpet track over there. You see that little white strip? It has numbers on it, like meter marks, so like 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter. If you're in America, it would probably be feet for you guys. So the awareness means, like, when somebody marks their pass, for example, if somebody wants to do their round and back handspring tuck off the end, they'll mark their pass and see where their round of handspring lands going that way, okay? So let's say they land at 5 meters. awareness has to do with when you get up there about to tumble, are you always going to be at 5 meters, right? Now, not everybody has numbers. What if you're on the main floor and you marked your pass and you're 4 or 5 strips down out of the 9, right? Do you know where you're starting? Do you know what's around you, right? Do you know that, when you go, you don't have to worry about somebody else? That has to do with awareness, okay? And you'll see a lot of tumblers do one of these things where, like, especially if I'm going for a standing pass, they'll do a lot of these things, or even if a gym is empty, right? Like, they'll look around. So make sure your awareness is dialed in. Make sure you know where you are. And if you know your mark as well, and if you tumble consistently, that's awesome. That's one less stress off your brain, okay? Now the next word, S. S has to do with speed and power, basically, right? Speed. You can't do high-level tumbling skills or even like basic level tumbling passes, with the exception of walkovers, without speed. Right? You got to be fast, right? And the more momentum you carry, the easier things get. You just got to squeeze, okay? Have you ever seen anybody do a round-off whip double twist super slowly? It's not possible, right? You need momentum. So make sure that, if everything else, if you're somebody who's focused and awareness is not a problem for you, make sure that's the one thing you focus on, right? Like I said, Jordan focus on that. A lot of tumblers that I know say the same thing. They're like, I'm just focused on being fast, I'm just focused on being tight. So just focus on that speed, okay? And then obviously the last thing, T, is technique, okay? Now technique, it's one of those things that I don't have to go too much into because that's what a lot of athletes focus on anyway, right? So when you're standing there for a new pass, let's say you're working layouts, you got to hit that candlestick shape, right? Or you got to look for your toes, you got to set with your arms. So that has everything to do with technique. Now, what I want to say about this acronym FAST is that you don't want to be doing all 4 right before you start, because again, that still goes in the territory of too many. You need to know what you are good at, and then just think about the things that you're not so good at, if that makes sense. So for example, for me, okay, focus is not really a problem for me if I use fast, okay? Awareness, that's something sometimes I have to look into. Like sometimes my mark can be a little off, so I have to make sure my marks are solid. I may have to mark it twice. So for me, I have to mark it twice. Then awareness is taken care of. Speed, generally not an issue for me. Technique, that's something that I always need to focus on to make sure, especially like now, if I were to tumble now, I'm older. So like my technique ain't what it used to be. So for me, as you guys can see, awareness and technique are the 2 things, right? So when I'm standing there, let's say I'm about to do a full layout, full twist, I'm going to be somebody who focuses a lot more on the technique, even though I've done it a long time and I know it'll kick in. I'm just going to do things like set with the arms, make sure you spot, like everything like that, right? And I'm sure you've seen tumblers do that off the floor when they're doing that kind of stuff. They're like, oh, up, we got a full, or up. That's so much better to think about than, am I going to land? Is this wall going to fall over? Am I going to make my mark? Is little Susie going to run across the floor? What's going to happen in competition? Am I going to land a competition? What if coach says, like, those are the stuffs you want to avoid. So those are things you want to be thinking about. Those are some of the things that some of the best tumblers think about. I guarantee if you use fast and you take care of all those things, you will be fine and you'll tumble awesome. If you want a quick way to remember this, I made a quick little infographic for you guys. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see. I know maybe it looks upside down, but it shows all the letters FAST, what it stands for, what questions to ask yourself. So if you go to the link that shows up right now, it should be tumblingcoach.com/fast. You'll be able to download this, works on any phone. And basically what you do is you right before practice or right before a tumbling class, take a quick look at it. It gives you questions to ask yourself. And then as soon as you end up in the class, you can focus on the right things and not overthink. So if you found this useful, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, subscribe. I'm going to be releasing more videos on YouTube. And if you're interested in any more of my services or you like this kind of content, let me know. Hit up tumblingcoach.com and I'd love to visit, do some clinics and help you guys out. Take care.